Grace and peace to you. This is yours truly, Bishop Bowser, coming at you once again. I want to share with you three scriptures that explain why women are to submit to their husband and demonstrates why we have so much of a problem and a conflict between man and woman in this modern day society because most have left God. The first scripture I want to read for you is found in the book of Genesis chapter 3 and verse 16. And I'm reading the NIV, and it reads, "To the woman he said, I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." This was after Eve had been deceived by the serpent to take of the fruit and eat it, which was forbidden. And the day that you eat it, you shall surely die. And then she took and gave to her husband, and he ate. Now, when God came, she blamed it, or he blamed it on Eve, right? And so God is implementing punishment for eating the fruit. And so to the woman, of course, this is why she has to have pain in childbearing, right? But the key that I want to get to is where it says your desire would be for your husband and he will rule over you. This is Yahweh speaking to Eve, and he's implementing a discipline or a punishment or because of the sin she had committed. Now, when he says your desire would be for your husband, desire does not refer to sexual desire. Particularly, it's talking about the desire is your will, and it's the determination of the will. And so basically what he's saying when he says your desire will be for your husband, the determination of your will be yielded to your husband. And then he confirms it by saying what? And he will rule over you. And so this is one of the first scriptures, and we find that because of the fall in sin, this is why women must submit to their husbands, and in every way, right? And so this is why we have this conflict today, because we're in the age of man or humankind. And what we mean by in the age of man is that humankind, men and women, are in rebellion against God. From the day that Adam sinned to the time we are in now, we've been in man's age, a time of rebellion. And so therefore, that's why you have the modern day problems that you have where women are rebelling against their husbands and against the institution of marriage, which God has instituted and set up, and said that the woman's determination, her will, be yielded to her husband. He will determine that. And let me give you a good example of how that happens. In the book of Numbers, chapter 30, verse 6, I'm going to begin reading through 8, and then I'm going to move down to verse 13. And it says, if she marries, it's talking about the woman marrying her husband, right? If she marries after she makes a vow, or after her lips utter a rash promise by which she obligates herself, and her husband hears about it, but says nothing to her, then her vows or the pledge by which she obligated herself will stand. This is when she makes a vow. This today is contracts, different things you do, or you say, I'm gonna fast, I'm gonna pray, or whatever it may be, whatever woman decides to do and obligate herself under a contract, under a vow, under a pledge, or what have you. If her husband hears about it and does not say anything, then it will stand. But in verse 8 it says, but if her husband forbids her, when he hears about it, he nullifies the vow that obligates her and the rash promise by which she obligates herself, and the Lord will release her because she did it without permission from her husband, because her husband will rule over her, and the determination of her will be yielded to her husband. So he has the final say so. That's why I teach that the man is a man of decisions in the house. He's the leader, and the woman must yield and submit to that. He's the final authority in that home, outside of Christ being the head of man. And so in verse 13 of chapter 30 of Numbers, it says, her husband may confirm or nullify any vow she makes or any sworn pledge to deny herself, right? Whatever it may be in those areas. And then in 1 Corinthians 11 and 3, it says, Paul is writing to the Corinthians, but I want you to realize that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is man, and the head of Christ is God. Now the key is the head of every woman is man, right? And so what this is speaking about, man is the leader, man is the authority. It's speaking about leadership in church, but it's also talking about marriage, right? Because in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 24, it says, now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. There is a hierarchical relationship between woman and man within the context of the church and marriage. And when it's stating that the man is the head and that the woman must submit. So a woman that hasn't been married yet, and she's supposed to be under her father's roof, right? This means that she must be submitted to her father. Now, if she's having sex while she lived with her father, she's considered a whore, a 304. If she moves out of her father's home, away from his authority, and she's not married, and move and do her own thing, and she begin to have sex, she's considered 304. In today's society, women are not considered 304s if they're having sex outside of wedlock, right? But it's a sin. And so this is the struggle and the problem that we have today among men and women in relationships. Many women have gone and been with many men, whether it's 2 or 3 or 4, that's many, and more, right? Some have a high body count, some have a low body count. But what you must understand is that you are conducting yourself as a 304, as a prostitute. When you do that, whether you consider yourself a prostitute, a whore, or whatever, selling your body, whatever you're doing, if you're having sex, you go out, oh, this is my boyfriend, but you're not married, and you're having sex, you're whoring yourself. And so this is part of the problem, but the other problem is modern day society does not want to submit to God's rule and God's word. And so we're in a day of rebellion. And the only way we can bring order to the family, which will bring order to our community, and order to our society, is that there must be order in the home. And the woman, because I'm talking about the woman, I'll have to get to the men too, but the woman must submit to her husband, and he must rule over her for there to be peace and for there to begin to have a solid, sound, holy structure in the home. All right, God bless you.